Now, multiple infernos covering thousands of kilometers of Los Angeles County have raged across parts of California. According to officials, they have scorched more than 55 square miles and put roughly 179,000 people under evacuation orders. Additionally, at least 10 people are dead and their remains are still being identified. And the sheer scale of devastation, where about 10,300 structures have been destroyed and over 60,000 more are, as strong winds continue to fan blazes in densely populated parts, threatening affluent communities in Palisades, Woodland Hills and the Hollywood Hills and Malibu have been affected by the wildfires. Houses of several celebrities have been completely destroyed. This includes Billy Crystal, James Woods, Mandy Moore, Leighton Meester, Adam Brody and Paris Hilton. Several other stars including Ben Affleck, Halle Berry, Mark Hamill and Steven Spielberg have had to evacuate their homes as well. These have also threatened iconic landmarks. Meanwhile, crews are battling the blaze. Reported that scores of fire hydrants have run dry. Firefighters on the ground have reported that tankers with gallons of water ran dry. The California Governor Gavin Newsom has been criticized as reports of the fire department slashing funding by $17 million emerged. Power too has now been cut off to swathes of the city and traffic jams have built up. This is one of the richest counties in the world, and the per capita income in Malibu is $127,233. There are over 200,000 millionaires and 42 billionaires that reside here, and yet a little above 3% of the fire has been contained up until now. The question we ask is, why has this happened? Why have the fire department has not been able to tackle the situation in the fire that has gone on for over 3 days now? There are 5 of these counties that have completely burnt down by these wildfires, and there are accusations coming in from various segments of the society talking about there is in fact lack of water. The fire hydrants did not have enough water pressure. The fire hydrants actually did not have water itself. These water tankers dried out. So you're looking at the world's most powerful country, the biggest economy of the world, and it is facing water shortages in the face of these wildfires. Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast are my panelists, and Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, how do you react particularly to the criticism that is coming in the way of the governor of California, who is being targeted right now, talking about particularly the slashing of funding for the water department to about $17 million, primarily being accused of doing this, which has led to no action. In fact, the action that has been taken has not resulted in the dousing of the fires.
Well, first of all, I would like to extend my sympathies to the victims. Many of us have friends living in that part of the world, and many of us have been extremely anxious about their welfare. It has long been reported that California, San Francisco are places where there is acute water shortage, and that it was time that the residents woke up to the ground reality, started conserving water, stopped planting trees and shrubs which consume a lot of underground water, etc. This discussion had been going on for the last decade. In this particular case, it would appear that the governor of the region and his team, despite the best efforts made by the firefighters who are fighting night and day, had not prepared for what we call disaster preparation in India. And this is very surprising in a country as rich and as developed as the United States. I could imagine the criticism that the West would have inflicted on us, Megha, if God forbid such a thing had happened in any city in India. This is called disaster preparedness. You have, in fact, dry runs. You prepare for the worst. This is not the first time that there have been such fires in this area, but it is the first time that it has been so catastrophic. So they should have made arrangements for it while realizing that the groundwater level is already very low, and that they have already been or what you would call rationing water, telling residents not to use water during critical times, etc. Uh, it is very unfortunate that despite the best efforts of the firefighters, uh, the you, the news is that only, I think now only 5.1% of the fire has been brought under control.
Yeah.
Means that if it continues to rage in this manner, it could actually destroy large parts of the most iconic parts of that city, and it is a very iconic city, which is very unfortunate. It's a great tragedy for the United States, but there are many lessons here that the US must learn,
Yeah.
which one of them being that instead of constantly telling other people how to run their affairs, which they're very good at doing, maybe they should focus for a change, Mega, on their own domestic economy, their domestic disaster preparedness, etc. So that actually the rest of the world can really look up to them as being the last call for all disasters, instead of right now. I could think of a lot of what we call jugaad type solutions to contain this fire, and I'm sure my colleague Dr. Kohli will have much to say on that. But I mean, I would never ever have imagined, Megha, that such a thing could have happened,
Yeah.
and in a very short span of time, just a few days.
I mean, yeah, it's shocking because swathes of land, if you take a look at the aerial views that have also been shared by individuals who were on the airplanes, and it's just red, you know, it's all burnt down, and that's the travesty of it, the fact that it continues even now. Like you said, you know, only just 1.5% of the blaze has at this point of time been doused by the firefighters, and that's, as you said, that's the travesty of things. Also on the telecast with me is Dr. Sharad Kohli. A situation such as this, you know, a lot of commentary coming in, a lot of celebrities, because it's their houses that have been burnt down, and even though there are just about 11,000 of those houses, it is, you know, one of the prime properties, the richest of the bungalows and mansions that have been constructed by these superstars, and that's why billions of dollars have structures that have been just crumbled because of the fires, and the fact that reports are saying there has been criticism coming in from Donald Trump, the president-elect, that the governor is responsible for large-scale corruption and mismanagement. There was some water declaration that was apparently not signed. There were budget cuts that had been brought in by the governor when it came to the water department in Los Angeles. Do you think all these have culminated to the inefficiency of the fire department to stop the fire from spreading further?
Good evening, Megha. Good evening to my fellow panelists and NewsX viewers. Unfortunately, it's not all that good an evening at LA and California. Yes, I agree with President Trump, because a catastrophe of this magnitude could not have happened in a purely natural course. There is a human element attached to it, and I'll very categorically list out the reasons. We have an associate office in LA. And I was talking to them last evening. We were concerned about the safety of the team over there. And I happened to ask, so here is the reasons they gave me. This was a very personal talk. This has got no official or the county endorsement on it. There are a lot of people who go for campfires in these wild areas, and they leave these campfires open. You know, they are not doused before they leave those campfires. That was stated to be reason number one. Reason number two was equipment malfunctioning, that there are certain equipments in these houses who are especially at the edge of these wild areas. So they malfunction. There's air conditioning, there are heaters, all sorts of equipment. You know, the fire safety equipment itself becomes a matter of hazard for the area. So that was given the second reason. And the third reason which I was given was, I was very surprised, which is that the plantation in that area, this is, as Ambassador Mukherjee said, this is a water deficient region. And there is almost a permanent drought there. We should not forget that.
Yes.
In such an area, if you plant vegetation which is highly inflammable, there is dry plantation. So what happens in a dry plantation? All you need is, in Hindi they call it one chingari, just one spark, and it can just blow up. So I assign this to a human error. This is, although people will say that this is due to climate change and so, but something of this magnitude cannot happen simply because of climate change. This is pure human negligence. I agree with what President Trump has said. This is being endorsed by my own acquaintance in LA. They said there have been carelessness, there have been reckless campfires here and there, and people are not bothered. The fire extinguishers, which are installed in all these luxury houses, you'll be shocked to know many of them are malfunction. They do not come alive when there is a need in an emergency. I am very sorry to observe all this in a place like Malibu, where by the way, the per capita income, Megha, at this point of time is touching $150,000 per annum. 127 was probably a couple of years ago. And for such a rich, such a wealthy region, if you have negligence of this sort, I think it states, well, I mean, it states the sorry state of affairs of the civic agencies in that area. So I completely agree with President Trump, and the reasons I have listed. I'm sure when the investigation culminates, you will find these reasons coming to the surface, Megha.
Okay, Ajit Kumar also on the telecast with me. Ajit, how do, the fact that these regions in United States, certain of these states and counties are prone to wildfires. These are an annual affair in all these countries, whether it is Canada or United States of America and other parts of North America. Do you think proper precautions and arrangements were not made to ensure that such kind of unforeseen events could be tackled, could be managed in a more efficient manner?
Of course, as Ambassador Mukherjee just while speaking talked about the disaster preparedness. In fact, nowadays, even developing countries or the third world countries as they call, they have a disaster preparedness plan. So a place like LA, which is like everybody talked, and we all know that it's one of the most richest places, not only in the world, but in the US also. And the topmost celebrities residing there. Such state of preparedness is really like awful, and then it has to be condemned by everyone. That is one thing. And second is that the kind of plantations people are doing, that when the water level is so low, you have to plant trees that use less water. So drought resilient plants you have to plant there. So that is how you can see that the groundwater levels increases, because in these kind of situations you need a lot of water, and the water has to come from the ground only. You can't store trillions or billions of liters of gallons of water somewhere to douse these flames. And then what is the kind of training people are undergoing there? And one important point which is most important, what I feel here is that, see, the amount of riches, amount of money you have, that doesn't save you from any disaster or a calamity. So we have to understand why the sustainable development goals are important, why we talk not only of poverty, reducing poverty, but also of climate change, maintaining environment, plantations, trees, and all these things. So we have to consider all these points together. So preparedness as well as say how we can adapt and mitigate.
Okay. Ambassador Mukherjee, talking about blame being given on climate change, and there's one thing that a natural calamity strikes you, there's quite another, the preparedness that you have to fight it and save the number of lives and property and other resources that are completely devastated and destroyed in this fire, or maybe an earthquake or a tornado that has taken place. Now, do you think politicians, the governor and the people in power right now are justified in then putting on the blame to climate change because of these wildfires that have occurred, and then saving themselves from any responsibility or accountability?
I think that it would be a travesty to call it climate change after hearing the detailed points made by Dr. Kohli and by my other co-panelists. The point here is that it is an arid region which has become even more arid, more dry, and this has been a discussion going on within civil society there for more than a decade. I have a lot of friends who live there, and they've been telling me that the manner in which particularly the ultra rich, the super famous live in that part of the world, it would appear that they don't either understand or they don't care about the fact that one day or the other disaster is waiting to happen, which it has happened. And I think, Megha, that since the United States is a democracy, and everyone, including the governor, is accountable to the people, whether he puts it on climate change or he doesn't. And it's unfortunate for him because President Trump has expressed deep skepticism right from day one about climate change. He is accountable to the people of that region, and he is accountable for what has happened, because what has happened, but it could have been better contained and better controlled if certain basic measures had been put into place and had been supervised and had been implemented. As I said earlier, Megha, let us imagine, God forbid, that there would be such a scenario in an emerging economy, be it India, be it Brazil, or be it China for that matter. The criticism that would have come from all sides, look at them, these people, they don't know how to manage their affairs. Didn't they know? Didn't they see it coming? This is the way they would talk about us, Megha. So, on the other hand, we are talking about them with sympathy, with compassion, with concern. And we are pointing out to them that they need to set their house in order fast, because it's not the only catastrophe that is waiting to happen in that part of the world. They have many, many issues which they have completely neglected in their hurry to give, for instance, so many weapons to Ukraine, etc., etc., in their desire to push or pull regimes down which they don't like. They have completely neglected their own domestic sphere, which needs money, which needs funding. When I was posted in New York, I was absolutely amazed at the number of people who are homeless and who sleep next to the subway station in winter, because that's where the heated steam used to come up in those days. I thought, wow, this is United States, this is New York City, this is the New York City we've heard about, and this is a New York City with so many homeless, no roof over the head. So they need to put their house in order, Megha. It's a wake-up call for them.
Dr. Sharat Kohli, taking forward the conversation, in fact, a number of these residents from Los Angeles, where these counties have caught fire, also spoke about how the services were not available, amenities are not there, and infrastructure that they compared to third world countries, saying that we have infrastructure which is akin to a third world country, because of which the officials, the departments have not been able to tackle the situation to the best of their abilities.
Well, Megha, I'm sorry to say this, that, calling them as the developed part of the world, I've been saying this on your channel earlier also. I think it is more on theory than in practice. I wish the Medal of Honor winner George Soros should have gone there and done some funding, instead of funding and bringing down governments around the world and earning medals out of that. I wish he would have gone there and given some of his riches to fight the fire. And let me tell you another bitter truth. All these luxury properties of the Bollywood, which is more than $100 billion industry, at this point of time, these luxury villas and the luxury houses and luxury estates, the maintenance of these estates have been handed over to professional agencies in LA. Now, all these agencies have failed. They take their annual retainers or annual maintenance charges, AMCs or whatever they call it. But the fact of the matter is that in the name of maintenance, this is the state of things, that most of the fire extinguishers in these villas or houses which was adjacent to the wild areas, they did not work at that time. It led to complete burning away of those houses, and the speed at which the fire is spread categorically states that the kind of vegetation, I would like to reiterate that the kind of vegetation which is there in hundreds of kilometers in that area is totally not matching the kind of safety measures you should be taking. I'll give you an example of Delhi. Delhi has got a central region which is called the Green Belt. It's called area around Buddha Jayanti Garden. They have a tree plantation there called Babool. It's also called the gum tree, by the way. Now that is, in Hindi they call it as Kikar. Now that is another tree, and there has been a lot of discussion in Delhi to uproot and replace those trees, because they are prone to fire, they lack greenery also, they've got thorns, and it doesn't give you a forest feel. So I think there was a conscious effort made in Delhi as to how to replace them. And I'm surprised in a county like Malibu and California, no such effort has been done in the past, that can you replace this vegetation by something which is less inflammable. Because these wildfires, first of all, Megha, are not new. This is not the first time a wildfire is happening.
Yeah, like I
obviously
said,
of this magnitude.
it's an annual occurrence in North America.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm surprised that year after year they suffer and they do not bother to look into they could have easily changed the vegetation. All you need to do is to uproot those trees and have a fresh plantation there. The exercise may take a few years, but better than lives being lost, better than, losing more than $100 billion plus of properties over there. You find these Bollywood celebrities running for their life, leaving their estates behind. Look at the insurance bills now, which are going to come to surface in the next few days. The insurance companies are going to go broke now. So I think this is categorically not a sign of a developed country. And all these deep state people who are busy looking into the affairs of other countries, pointing out fingers at rest of the world, they better look into their own gireban in Hindi, you call it as.
Yeah.
They better look at themselves, look at the mirror, look at your own country. They're struggling with a gun culture. Their debt is climbing by 1 to 1.5 trillion every 12 to 18 months. They have a problem of CCP interference. They've got a million problems at home, and most of the time they spend in trying to point fingers at rest of the world, trying to boss around at rest of the world, trying to show that we are the supreme power. For all your problems, you can come to me. For God's sake, solve your own problems for a moment, Megha.
Right, absolutely. Okay, on that note, I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. We'll keep a close eye on these wildfires that have spread. As soon as there is more information of hopefully stopping these fires further spreading and quelling these fires, we'll keep you updated on that. On that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching.